Welcome to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. This is where you're going to discover how to bring awakening into the body and into everyday life through powerful tantric teachings. Get ready to release, open and step into your true power. A lot of healing environments really encourage a parasympathetic state, right? A relaxed state, which is great. And actually, an authentic parasympathetic state requires a release of the sympathetic, which is really Osho's dynamic meditations are based on what I'm about to share with you. So we have all of these different areas of Tantra that cultivate a different aliveness in the body and beingness with the body. So traditional Tantra and Kashmir Shaivism Tantra is very much based in meditative, divine feminine, worshipful devotion practices. Yeah. And connective practices that support us to really get to know what the subtle body feels like. And we're going to be going through that, into that all throughout the week. And then Neo-Tantra, or what Osho cultivated, is based on this idea that true meditation is a difficult thing to embody authentically when there's a lot of adrenaline in the body. So a lot of his meditations, if you go to his ashram in Pune, or if you've ever explored who has explored Osho dynamic meditations, right? They involve a lot of movement, and what's actually happening is he's encouraging people to consciously and intentionally activate the sympathetic nervous system so that when it gets activated in a trigger environment, the response is not so strong in terms of fight or flight. We've already been emptying out. And then if you look at all of his meditations, there'll be a period of time of movement and shaking and adrenaline release, and then there'll be a period of time of some form of shavasana or stillness meditation. So what's it like to actually consciously, intentionally activate the adrenaline in your body, right? And then come into stillness meditation to experience the authenticity of a still state on the premise that actually we can't let go of the mind. So people meditate and they're trying desperately to let go of the mind, and I've got to let go of the mind. I've got to just focus on my breath. And oh my God, has it only been 2 minutes? I feel like I've been sitting here for an hour. Who can relate to that? Because all of the adrenaline in your body is up here, right? And turning into this frenetic energy in the mind. So the best thing that you can do for yourselves after this retreat is over, the simplest practice, especially if you've got a lot of trauma in your body, is to shake like a motherfucker for 10 minutes. I don't know who's on my playlist, Chantel Raven on Spotify. I've carefully curated many playlists for the world to enjoy. And one of them is called Adrenaline Release. Play it. It's got some great tracks. We're going to play it now. Actually, while I'm talking, can you find Adrenaline Release on my playlist, babe? Thank you. On your phone. And what you'll see if you let yourself go into this is that after a lot of that shaking, rather than you having to let go of the mind has let go of you. The mind has let go of its grip on you because you've entered the depth of the body, right? Now, when there's a lot of adrenaline and stuck energy in the body, we self-protect. And people do that in different ways. And it's usually through our addictions and our avoidant mechanisms, right? So we can avoid all of the trauma and adrenaline in our body by getting addicted to substances. We can avoid it by getting addicted to social media, to work, to pornography, right? To things that release dopamine. What if we were releasing dopamine and adrenaline every day through shaking, right? For 10 minutes, and then coming into meditation and shavasana and actually feeling the parasympathetic let go and relax into the earth, not just straight away in the morning after we've been sleeping all day, all night, which is what that was my practice. I would wake up in the morning and I would incrementally extend my meditation by 5 minutes a day, setting myself the challenge. And then when I got to 2 hours, I was like, yes. And it was, of course, a really great practice to cultivate. I can pretty much be in my center no matter what's happening as a result of all the meditation that I've done. However, my trauma did not go away. You can't meditate your trauma away. And then when I started doing this, wow. And, as I've expressed, I had a lot of suppressed rage in my body. So when I would shake, it would often be like, pushing away and like having to punch a little. And it looks different for everyone. But what you want to honor is the wisdom of the body that is the unconscious. Your body basically is your unconscious. And it is the unconscious driver of your seat that creates most of the issues in your relationships and your life. And you can talk about your trauma till the fucking cows come home. And you can analyze your trauma till the cows come home. And you can go into the story of your trauma till the cows come home. But actually, you're never going to be able to open into pleasure, which is what today is all about, and open into your creativity until you, at an embodied level, begin a process of authentically disidentifying from your trauma because it's releasing from the cells in your body. And if it is stuck, whatever's in there, your anger, your sadness, your fight response, your flight response, if all of that is stuck, it will multiply into all of those addictions I talked about, or into weight on your body to armor yourself and self-protect. So for me, it's always sickness. For other people, it's putting on weight. For other people, it's creating constant drama and being addicted to drama and stress and worry. For other people, it's, the more obvious of like stress and work addiction and all these other things. But what all of them involve is a inability to be in this present moment. So do we all want to be more present in life so that we can actually feel the beauty of the trees, feel the beauty of making love, feel the beauty of breathing together, of dancing, of playing together, and not constantly have this mental chitter-chatter that's taking us away from being fully alive, totally present, and no longer controlling our experience? Is that something we all want? Yeah? Okay. So then please shake like a motherfucker, right? And you're not, it's actually interesting. I remember I went really deep into Osho meditations with one of my amazing master teachers, Ma Nanda Sarita, and I'd like to honor her in the space because some of her teachings are really here. She lived with Osho for 27 years, and she actually, when she introduced me, I'd already done Osho dynamic meditations, and then when she introduced me to them, and I was in Greece, and we basically just did Osho meditations for a week, amongst other things, but it was very based on that. Crazy shit, like just looking at one point and spinning round and around until you're just like one with the cosmos and completely in this bliss state that's unbelievable. That just came to mind. But there were lots of different meditations, and I remember something she said to me that changed everything for me. And she said, "Don't shake, become the shaking." let the shake rise from within, so that you are surrendering to actually the shake and the tremor that is within all of us. And she also said another little prompt once, which was like, imagine that you're like seaweed in the ocean and that you're surrendering to the oceanic waves within you, and then let the shaking go from there, right? So it's like, if you can imagine, the sacral is the water element, right? Svadhisthana is fluid. And that once you start to get into that fluidity and then you're shaking from that place, you're shaking from the inside out. And some of you yesterday, you've all been doing great with sound, by the way, amazing. But some of you yesterday were sounding from the throat, and then you're just going to get a really sore throat. You want the breath to be deep, and as you're shaking, so as soon as I start to just access any shake that's in my body, at the moment, my son has hives covering his body. He's had it over the last 3 days since I left, and it's coming and going. And like, he was trying to call me last night, and I had 4 missed calls in the morning. Then like a message, Mum, I don't know what to do. I've got these hives and there's no one, Jace is asleep and no one's answering the phone. And straight away, like, and it's like, I can feel as soon as I breathe in, I can just feel that energy in that shake, right? And it's not like I thought about him first. I just went into my body and there he is. Or like, sometimes when I would do this, breathe into the body and then, oh, fuck, yeah, I just launched something, and why the fuck am I launching that right now? That's like not a good idea. And then there'll be a shake from there. Or a conversation I had that I didn't even know impacted me, and there's a shake from there. So tomorrow we're going to go deeply into how connected your power is to your unconscious. And shaking and intentionally going into adrenaline is also intentionally going into your unconscious, right? So the more that you can just surrender into the body and let shake whatever is there, you don't have to understand it, but images might come. So just let that, and if an image comes, don't think about it, just keep breathing into it, right? And then we're going to go into a nice shavasana and feel the difference of coming into stillness and silence after the adrenaline release. Yeah. So I'll go back to where I started, which is most healing environments, most healing traditions and spiritual traditions, pretty much all besides Tantra, steer away from sympathetic and teach you to always come into parasympathetic. But that is missing a big part of when life naturally takes us. Because as Matisse said yesterday, it's scary being here sometimes, right? And there's different stuff that comes up. That unless we're living in a cave or living in a mountain, there are triggers in the body. Can we all agree that life is painful sometimes? And no matter how hard you try, you can't avoid that. Pain and pleasure are always going to be in the flow of life. So what about if we go, okay, so realistically, we can't just fucking Om Shanti all day. There's shit that goes down, right? I'm going to fucking acknowledge that and not just be obsessed with always being in a parasympathetic state, actually consciously activate my sympathetic nervous system so that it's not coming out at other people. I'm not just suppressing that and then channeling it through the mind into different situations, avoiding it through addictions, yeah? So imagine that it's like, okay, we go into sympathetic, we shake, and then we come into the valley. And that life is actually like that. And when we're making love, most people are making love in a sympathetic state. It's a very localized sexuality that's just going for a goal and then finally releasing the stress that's built in the body. But what if lovemaking was slow and fast and there were valleys and peaks and we actually enjoyed the slow embrace and the slow movement and the energy and the sound and the connection, as much as, of course, sometimes going into a bit of that is always good, get the fire burning. But sexuality, when we take into account that feminine energy is a part of sexuality, and it's not just masculine. Feminine energy is watery. Feminine energy is fluid. And every single woman on earth and the feminine in all of us needs things to be slow at times and connected and a warm up, which I'm going to talk more about. But this is all relevant to this. It's about getting our bodies used to not being in the extremes of either go, 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 go in our life and pumping and striving and getting triggered like motherfuckers, and then the other extreme of like, okay, now I'm on my mat and I'm meditating. Or I have to be this person and I'm wearing a mask of love and light. So sympathetic and parasympathetic can coexist. And the beauty of Tantra is that you go into the duality of parasympathetic, sympathetic, masculine, feminine, dark, light, to go beyond that duality and into oneness. And what I find at the end of adrenaline release and activating sympathetic and then going into parasympathetic is that there is this beautiful oneness state where everything is coexisting. Dark and light are one, masculine and feminine are one, life force and stillness are one, and we get to experience wholeness. And that's the practice of Tantra, is always coming back to wholeness. And like yesterday, there was a lot of focus on all of the parts of you being lovable, because those parts are all part of who you are. And when we're not denying them, we feel whole. When we're reparenting ourselves and we have our own mother, father, and child in here, we feel whole. So the state of wholeness is what creates a natural state of non-attachment. There's also healthy attachment, but it creates a healthy state of non-attachment to external people and things as being the source for how calm and happy we are. So that when a relationship ends, it's not the end of the friggin' world and a 2-year grieving process, right? So that when a job ends, so that when things need to die and be reborn, we're not just grasping at them, because actually we can embrace what's happening fully in that grieving process, fully in whatever's alive in the body. And actually, the funniest thing is that people who suck it all up and hold on because they don't want to feel their pain, just elongate the pain, sometimes for their whole friggin' life. So they're not really feeling their pain, but they're also not really feeling their pleasure, and life just becomes this constant trying to feel good. So today's an invitation to stop trying to feel good and just feel good, right? By being with what's here. And when I'm feeling angry, when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling frustrated, disappointed, most of the time, it also kind of feels good because I'm letting it flow, you know? Unless I have something that I really need to show up for and I can't go into it fully because I know it's going to be like an hour or two. And that's where you start to notice, how much spaciousness do I have in my life to feel everything fully that's here, right? And spaciousness in life is super important, a very important part to pleasure, a very important part to your evolution, a very important part of your wholeness. And that is a work in progress for me. And we all have our things of where we're not creating spaciousness, and they are very connected to whatever has been our way of surviving in the world. And before we go into this practice, while it's here, I want to say that addictions are never the problem. We try to go, okay, I'm going to stop working. I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to stop stressing, like whatever your addictive tendency is. Has that worked for anyone? Put your hand up if trying really hard to stop doing your addiction has worked without doing any of the deeper work. Because actually your addiction is your friend. It's the solution to a problem. I worked a lot and went into the intellect a lot because it was too hard to be in my body and know that at any minute my mum could come in and yell at me, and know that dad could be away longer and I'm going to my uncle's again. And, there was all this unpredictability in the outside world where abuse was something imminent for me. So the safe place for me to go was up here and to focus on learning and service. That's my safety zone. So thank you, work addiction. Right? I've got an amazing brain from that you will get to enjoy the fruits of. I know a heck of a lot of stuff, and I didn't have to be in a body that actually felt so unsafe that whenever I was there, I actually wanted to die and didn't want to be here anymore. So thank you. And then whatever your addiction is, thank you. So then now we're old enough and now we're wise enough, because you're hearing this, to go, what was my addiction trying to solve? And usually it's an inability to be in the body because we don't feel safe in the body. And then it's a variety of other things, like some people don't feel confident without substance. Some people don't feel creative or inspired. Okay, so let's work with that. How can I feel inspired without hallucinogenics? How can I feel magical and alive and in touch with oneness without smoking pot? How can I feel worthy of being here as a human without my work addiction? How can I feel loved without relationship, for people who are addicted to relationship? So close your eyes down. Some people get addicted to adrenaline sports. So let's just all connect with your main addiction. What do you use to... What's your wonderful addiction that is solving a problem for you? Stop hating on your addiction. And anyone who's shamed you for your addiction, you might want to just say fuck you to all of them. In your mind, just stick your finger up and go, fuck you. You've got your own addictions, motherfuckers. Let's just take all shame out of your addictions. Meet your addiction. Meet that part of you that's a little piggy and just gobbles up whatever your addiction is. Thank you. You've stopped me from feeling the extreme unsafety in my body or the lack of inspiration, procrastination, whatever it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm ready for a different solution. So feel into what that addiction is, and then acknowledge, what feeling does that give you, that addiction? So for me, it's a feeling of worthiness. I didn't feel worthy when I was in my body because my body was being raped, right? So there was just shame in my body and fear of when the next abuse was going to come in. What is it for you? What is it for you? And can you just go there for a moment without any shame? And as you feel what's underneath it, start to breathe into that. That feeling of uninspired or wanting to be loved or uninspired or feeling lost, whatever it is that your addiction covers up. Thanks for listening to the Love, Sex and Freedom podcast. For more great free resources, in-person and online workshops, and our retreats, Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Embodied Awakening Academy or visit embodiedawakeningacademy.com.